It's not fun. All right, let's look at another piece of this. What piece should we look at? Let's see. I think I want to look at you, Scorpio, because I think that you are struggling a little bit more than the person that you have in mind. And so I want to try to give you some stuff to think about here with this, okay? So let's take a look at, I'm going to go with this 10 of Wands, okay? Sideways. Let's get some clarification for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Tied to this 10 of Wands, that's sideways. All right. So we have the 5 of Swords. Damn. The Knight of Pentacles. And the Ace of Cups. So the 10 of Wands sideways was representing the energy that you're currently in relative to this relationship. And so, whoops, the 5 of Swords. Ouch. All right. So whether it was you that did the leaving or they did the leaving, you know, I'm guessing this was not a fun breakup. Like this, I don't, you know, so we have this coupled with the Knight, which is interesting. The Knight of Pentacles, which is a very kind of slow moving and stable energy, contrasted with one that's totally not. The 5 of Swords is not a stable, calm energy, you know, as depicted in this card. But like, that's, these are very conflicting type of energies. And so if this is the energy you're currently in, okay, you know, like one day you're pissed, one day you're like, you know, I gotta let this go, I need to move on. One day you're like, I can't believe, what the F, you know, blah, blah, blah. The next day you're like, all right, I just gotta focus on my future, I gotta focus on what I'm doing next. You know, it's like, I think you might be in your head and having a real hard time letting this go, like letting this relationship go. I think that's what this is about, because these are very conflicting energies. And then you got the damn Ace of Cups, right? So like, what I'm getting, Scorpio, is that you want to be in a relationship. You want to find a soulmate, you want to be with somebody, you want to find that person, you know, and maybe you thought that the person that we pulled for you, that it was them, but it looks to me like they have moved on. I hate to say that because it's so hard and it sounds so harsh, because you're clearly, you want it, right? And I don't know if you necessarily want them anymore. Maybe you do, or maybe just the idea of it. Sometimes we get stuck on the idea of something, and it makes it hard for us to kind of let stuff go, you know? But clearly you want to have some love, and you want to be in a loving relationship. So I'm getting very strongly for you, Scorpio, that until you can release the back and forth, right? These are all, like, for me now, this is the same. You know, that's why this came up like sideways, because you're like, you probably shift like every day. You're in a different energy about this, you know? And I feel like your brain is just kind of like spinning on, how do I move on, you know? So I don't know, Scorpio, that you're going to have an easy time finding this love until you can get this cleared, okay? So, you know, if I'm giving any kind of advice, it's, well, I understand, that's not advice, but I understand, if this is your story, this is very difficult, and I get why you might be stuck, and sometimes these things just take time, right? So you may be anxious to move on to a new relationship because it looks like they have. So part of you might be like, well, what the F? I don't want to be the loser without it, you know, but that's nonsense. Like if you're in that energy, then I would, you know, gently say to you that's nonsense, because you may be a deeper person, you may be more spiritual, you may have different type of healing journey than your partner, who I think has already moved on to something else, right? So you may need to take some time. There's nothing wrong with that. There is no shame in being alone for a little while and getting our shit cleared up, so that when another opportunity comes, you'll be in a really good place to swim and play with them and, like, you know, and accept love into your life. Okay? A little bit of tough love there, but I hope you understand. What else can we look at? The last thing I'm going to look at, I was hesitating looking at this person's energy that you're thinking about in this relationship, but I think we're going to look at just this, which was what they want from your relationship. So I'm going to get clarification on this for you, so that gives you something to kind of think about, meditate on, and decide how you can help yourself get out of this back and forth type of energy, okay? So let's take a look at what it is that they want from you, from this relationship, okay? All right, so for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus, what clarification can we give them about this relationship related to this Chariot card? What does this person they're thinking about, what does that person want from Scorpio? What do they want for the relationship? What do they want? What do they want for the relationship? What do they want for Scorpio? Okay. The Hierophant, the Two of Pentacles, and the King of Wands. To clarify the Chariot. I'm going to come back to this, but just real quick before I forget, I think that they want to be free to explore and make their own decisions about this, and I think that they're exploring right now. So if they've moved on to a different relationship, I feel like they're doing it because they're trying to figure some shit out about themselves. And I don't want to go as far as to say it's a rebound. That's not, you know, I mean, it could be, but that's not necessarily what I'm saying. You know, typically we think of the Hermit and we think that, you know, you kind of go internal by yourself to do your thing. But in this particular case, I'm getting that they need this relationship, whatever this was, I think they need the relationship to be in this Hermit energy, because they want to be here. They want to be exploring their options. They want to be free to go out and explore, is what I'm getting. You know, they have some options, and they don't know. Other thing I'll say with this is they don't know exactly what they want. I think we got that. I think they know that they want something different, and I think that they're anxious to explore, but I don't think that they know what they want. So I think from the relationship, from you, Scorpio, maybe they need a little bit of a solitude and a break so that they can do this exploring and, you know, And for some of you, you know, if this is a work thing, so I'm kind of getting this pretty strong right now too. So for those of you where this was a work relationship, whatever type of work relationship it was a work relationship, they may have too much on their plate, and they are trying to kind of figure out how they can do this and that, you know, and so they might have some competing priorities. So this is kind of like a different subset of what I just said. It's a little bit of a different spin on this. What I'm getting from this is that they have a lot of obligations right now, and they have a lot of kind of things that are tugging and pulling at them, like competing interests is what I'm getting, which could have been the cause of the, you know, a factor, let's say that, a factor in like the demise of the relationship. Scorpio, you might not have been getting what you needed, and so things just kind of started to, things just kind of started to unravel, right? So yeah, I think that's the energy that they're in, Scorpio. The people that I'm tapped into here is, I think from you, from the relationship, they need a little bit of a break, right? They need a break because they're assessing and they're trying to figure stuff out. And so as painful as it might be for those of you where, you know, the person has moved on, they've kind of shut the door. If they haven't moved on, then they've shut the door on the relationship, probably. You know, and they're really minimizing communication. I'm guessing for most of you, they've kind of stopped communication altogether. Some of them have moved on to a different relationship, whatever, you know, kind of whatever the scenario is for you. As painful as that is to kind of know or to think about, they're doing it because they're trying to figure some shit out. So if that gives you any kind of comfort at all, take that. And maybe, you know, do your meditation, your healing, whatever it is that you do to kind of work through these types of things. And then if this is your first time going through something like this, it takes a minute. You know, I've been there. It takes a minute. And meditating, talking to people too, you know, if you have like a relationship coach or a therapist or, you know, anything like that, it's always good when we get ourselves, especially since Scorpio, I think you're in this kind of energy where you're really kind of struggling to process and to do something about, or to figure out what to do to kind of get past this and get through this. If you haven't already considered talking to a therapist or going to a relationship counselor or something like that, that may be an avenue to help you kind of clear that energy that it looks like that you're in. Okay, that was a tough one. We're going to pull some final messages from the Animal Spirit Oracle to give you some parting messages, okay? So for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus, what messages can we give them to help support them through this healing, through this release? What messages can we give to Scorpio to help them through this time? I was going to do that like I do tarot. Here we go. Giraffe Spirit, see the big picture. Yeah, I think this is actually really good advice for you, Scorpio, because you're kind of stuck right now, right? Like you're stuck in this back and forth, and so this is like the minutia, right? This is stuck in like the details of circling like what went wrong, an argument, like replaying arguments that you had, the way shit went down, like replaying all that stuff, right? Like stuck in the minutia of the ugliness. I think Giraffe Spirit is suggesting for you to try, I know it's hard, try to step away from that energy when you catch yourself, possibly if that's happening to you, that kind of mental replaying of things, if that's happening to you, to when you recognize it, shut it down And by shutting it down, I mean like acknowledge that it happened and then let it go, right? And if you're like most people, at some point throughout the day, it'll happen again. As soon as you recognize that it's happening, let it go, right? And stay focused instead, right? So that'll free up your brain space. You know, when you're not stuck in the minutia of the ugliness, that'll free up your brain space, the big picture, to look at how you can best do this, which is turn this card upside down and release this burden and release this stuff and really start to kind of clear yourself, clear your energy so you can open yourself up to receive a new cup of love, right? I like that for you. So let's get another one. Antelope spirit, life is speeding up. So this may be a message for those of you where this was a work situation, right? So if this was a work relationship that ended, what I'm getting from this is that you have new opportunities coming toward you. New things are coming, right? So when one door closes, another door opens. And did we get that it was, did I see the Eight of Wands here? No, I did not. I thought I saw it, but I didn't. Okay. So I really feel like you've got some good stuff coming toward you, especially if your relationship is a work one. All right. So that work relationship may have ended. By relationship, I could mean like a job, right? So I don't think I specified that earlier, but this whole time, if this was a work thing for you, Avi, you know, it could have just been the job. Maybe the job ended because of some promises that were not kept and people were not feeling like they were being supported. Everything that we talked about could apply to just a job and not a personal relationship, okay? And so for those of you where this was a job thing, that's what I think Antelope Spirit is here for you. Which is you have some new opportunity. You know, one door, like I said, one door closes and the door opens, go through it, right? Just don't even hesitate, because if an antelope hesitates, they're dead, right? So go. Like what I'm getting with this is just go for it, right? Get yourself out there, resumes, whatever the case is, all right? And we'll get one more for Scorpio. And grasshopper spirit, take a leap of faith. So I think this applies to whichever type of relationship. So if you've made it this far, whether this was romantic, work, family, whatever, with take a leap of faith, I'm getting that it's actually tied to this more than anything, which is to try to do things in a different way, right? So taking a leap of faith is, you know, I've never tried therapy before. I'm going to do it now. Or I've never had a one-page resume, believe it or not. Like, you know, at this point, my resume is like 3 pages long. And just last year, I played around with a one-page resume and I was like, well, that's kind of empowering, you know? So it's like that type of idea where you're doing something differently and you're going to trust that it's going to work out for the best, right? That you're trusting that whatever direction you're headed in is, you're trusting the universe. You're trusting that the universe this has ended for a reason, and that you're trusting that where you're going is in a really good place for you. I think that's what Grasshopper Spirit is saying here. All right, because when we're stuck like this, you know, it's really hard to have some faith, right? It's like you get so stuck, faith is like, faith what? You know, you're like, huh? But we need to keep that in mind. Very often when we get into these painful situations, you know, there was something that we needed to learn. And when we're in it, we don't want to hear that shit, but it's true, you know? It's true. You know, there may have been something that you needed to learn about yourself or learn about other people. So trust that the universe has your back and that you are moving in a good direction. And just keep at it, Scorpio. Okay, don't give up. Keep working at your healing and letting whatever this challenge for you is, this burden that you're carrying related to this relationship, working on letting that go, and having faith that you are heading in the right direction for you. Okay, this was a tough one. Well, I wish you the best, and I hope to see you around my channel, and I hope this was helpful. Take care, okay?